Over the course of this video series, we're going to be talking about lots of different applications for the gripper using all sorts of different tools in your shop. But this chapter is specifically for using the gripper on the table saw. The first thing we want to consider when using the gripper on the table saw is the length of material that we can cut using just one gripper. In order for the gripper to work, it needs to be on top of your workpiece on top of the table. For instance, this piece of cherry, it's right in front of the blade as though I was about to start making a cut. This is about as far back onto the table as I can put my gripper without it tilting back on me. I don't want it tilting back on me. It needs to be on the table. Let's imagine my stock was longer. I'm going through the cut and I get to this point. Here, I would have to hold it down, move my gripper, and adjust my grip to continue my cut. You never want to do that. That's very dangerous. The first reason is you're going to see blade marks every time you stop. Burning and blade marks are a warning that your piece is making too much contact with the back teeth of the blade, and that means kickback, and that means no fun. That being said, for stock 18 inches or longer, we recommend, you guessed it, 2 grippers. By using 2 grippers, you're able to control it at the front of the cut and all the way at the back. Now once you reach this point, if your stock's longer than this, you can reposition the gripper that you have in the front to behind this one here and continue making that cut using this leapfrog method. And that works for stock this length, and theoretically it would work for stock a mile long if you have the outfeed support to do it. Technically, you could cut longer stock using just one gripper, but we don't recommend it, and here's why. If you're starting the cut with just your hand, once you get close to the blade, you have to stop, reposition your grip, start again, stop, reposition, and start again. And then once you reach the end, you finish it off with the gripper. Not only is that dangerous, but it's going to take you extra time to sand out those saw marks so that you can continue working with that piece. It's annoying, and it's a needless waste of time nobody has. If you're the skeptical type, I don't blame you. So that's why I'm going to show you right now what happens when you try to cut long stock with just one gripper. If you look closely, you can see a blade mark everywhere that I stopped to adjust my grip. There's either a burn or a blade mark or both. You can see right away the difference in cut quality. And that's because I didn't have to stop and readjust my grip. I was able to feed the material through the cut without stopping using 2 grippers, almost as though I had a power feeder. Now we already know that the gripper is awesome for making vertical cuts, but what about bevel cuts? Thought you'd never ask. So you can tilt the blade to 45 degrees and make miter cuts using your gripper. One thing to bear in mind is that because your blade is tilted, the higher you set your blade, the more it's moving to the side, and that's cutting into your rib capacity. Another thing to keep in mind is where you position the center leg on a bevel cut. You want to make sure that it's never above the blade, because as you're putting pressure down, because the blade is tilted, you're putting pressure down onto the blade. If you're putting pressure onto the blade directly, you're not going to get a good cut. The gripper is also great for cutting veneers. Veneers are usually very difficult to cut on a table saw for a couple reasons. One is the space underneath the fence. You can't really run it along the fence because it just slides underneath. 2, sometimes when it's a longer cut, the veneer has a tendency to ride up over the blade. It doesn't want to actually stay down on the table. So to cut this piece of veneer, I'm going to use my balance support up against the fence, and I'm going to use the gripper out here over the veneer to keep everything down on the table right near the blade. All right, safety glasses, let's let it rip. That was the easiest thing I've ever done. Right out of the box, both the GR-100 and the GR-200 are capable of ripping material down to as small as 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch using the 1/4 inch leg against the fence. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Now we're using the 1/4 inch leg up against the fence, so we're going to use the center leg to control the offcut side. Again, you always want to make sure that your balance support's set right so that your gripper is putting even pressure directly down onto the table. So that's one. We can actually rip this down a couple more times to 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. And again, now you're going to need to adjust your balance support. All right, now we're balanced. And we're going to move our center leg in just a little bit more to make sure that we're controlling that off-cut side. And lastly, remember, it's always a good idea to run the gripper without the material in there, just to make sure that your legs aren't going to hit that blade, or the other way around. And just like that, we have 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch cuts ripped down by the gripper safely and easily. Try to do that with a push stick.